call the City Council meeting for January 1st, 2020 into session. Let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I may too. Great. Sylvia, roll call.
Mayor Mays is absent tonight. Council President Rosner.
Here.
Councilor Browse.
Here.
Councilor Garland.
Here.
Councilor Young. Here. Councilor Griffin.
Here.
Councilor Stott.
Here.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion on the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Let's go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. We have 3 items tonight. First one is approval of the January 7th, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. The second one is approval of the January 11th, 2020 City Council minutes. And
Really
the third
old.
one is Resolution 2020-005, adopting the Park Donation and Memorial Program Policy and repealing Resolution 2001-980.
We need to make that correction. The scrivener's there. Okay. I move consent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, citizens' comments. Do we have anyone tonight? Great. All right. Dave, I might get your name wrong. Dave Scally? I got it right. All right. Come on up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. So the button, see it's red right there, you need to push it and then it turns green. Okay.
Yeah, just hold it down until it's green. It can be a little finicky.
That's sharp.
There you go.
It's flaky.
There you go.
My name is David Scally. I'm a resident here. Oh, okay. My name is David Scally. I'm a resident here in Sherwood at 16100 Southwest Century Drive, apartment 159 at the Sunfield Lakes apartment. I am also a volunteer and board member of a nonprofit agency called Love in the Name of Christ. We service low-income people with a lot of problems in the Sherwood, Tualatin, Tigard, and King City area. And we have a group of 51 churches and businesses and sponsors that we coordinate with different types of pantries. We don't give out money, but there's linen pantries, food pantries, essentials, the Happy Bottoms diaper pantry that's over at the Tigard Christian Church. And two of our clients are
You turned it red again, sorry.
You don't have to keep it.
Oh.
There you go.
There you go. Sorry about that.
okay. This is the first time. Next time I'll remember. It's nice people can laugh at me. Thank you. No, it makes it. Yeah. Anyway, there are two. They're federally subsidized, monitored by the state housing authority. They're designated for low-income seniors and the disabled. We have one elderly lady living in one in the other. The one I'm talking about right now is she's legally blind, very legally blind, and she has 2 caregivers that come in on month 10 hours each month. They each get 10 hours a month to care for her. She cannot put in work orders. The property manager and the manager insist that they have written work order requests for any service or repair work that needs to be done. And so she can't. Okay, so this finally came to my attention. And I came down here, I talked to the Planning Commission and a code enforcement officer, and currently there's nothing, there's no ordinance that says that they have the authority to go into these, to the landlords and enforce Oregon State Statute 93.320, which is tenants' rights and landlords' rights. And so I know, I was told that other cities have an ordinance that gives their code enforcement officers the ability to enforce these state statutes, giving out citations and fines. I don't know if that's available. The code enforcement officer said he thinks that we're too small of a city for that. But if it's at all possible, that would help, because I'm just going through the process now of following the state procedures for filing complaints. And, I'm doing the writing for her. I'm going to start writing the work orders and turning them in to the manager. But it's a very laborious process. And in the meantime, they're doing without dishwashers don't work anymore, burners on stoves that don't work anymore, de-icer and gravel that wasn't put down when we had the last freeze, for a legally blind lady trying to come downstairs because she has a medical appointment. If it's just, I would just like to see as much accountability as possible for the city to do. And if there's nothing you can do, well, then I can just go on doing it the way the state wants me to do it. But that was just my request. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave, for coming in and talking about that. I can't speak for everyone. I've had some challenges with bad landlords myself, so I kind of understand what you're talking about. Joe, would it be possible to meet with Dave and potentially explore that?
Yeah, definitely. I think you filled out the form. We have your information. I'll give you my card as well. And we'll get folks from my staff together, and we'll set a meeting up and see what we can do here locally or potentially with the county. There's a variety of things we could probably look into.
Dave, there's also free legal aid too. Are you familiar with the free legal aid?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that. We have to go through this process.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave. All right. Next up, Julie Nader. Welcome, Julie. There you go.
Doesn't move. I'm Julie Nader. I live at 22525 Southwest Rickard Place here in Sherwood. Most importantly, I want to thank you for the extraordinary number of hours you devote to Sherwood in your volunteer positions as mayor, pro tem, whatever, and city council members. Thanks also to the city employees who work to respond to the citizens' priorities and concerns. There is illegal activity on Route 99. Did I get your attention? Been trying for over 18 years to get the 4 illegal and hideous billboards taken down. This concerns Ordinance 2009-003, an ordinance amending the sign code section of the Sherwood Zoning and Community Development Code, which 16.102. Here's a little history. In 2002, when I moved to this historic town, I noticed 4 billboards on Route 99. My 2-year-old grandson, now 20, and I went to City Hall to inquire about a possible billboard ordinance. I was assured there was one, but the billboards would not be coming down until June of 2011. This gave the companies and property owners plenty of time to benefit from the billboards. When June 2011 rolled around and the billboards did not come down, I inquired of the city manager, mayor, and council members why they were not going to pursue Lamar for continuing to pollute our environment, ignore our laws, and make money on the billboards. From my September 2011 letter, in quotes, as elected representatives of the whole community, and most certainly the homeowners and businesses who support the city with our taxes, send our children to Sherwood schools and purchase goods in Sherwood stores, we hope that you will uphold our ordinances and that our laws and ordinances are respected and obeyed. Surely we are not intimidated by large companies or corporations when we have the interests of our greater community at stake. From around September 2013 letters, quote, it is imperative if we want Sherwood to have community livability and community pride, as outlined in our city mission statement, that the billboards on Route 99 be taken down. They are a tacky welcome to Sherwood, unquote. From my April 215 letter, quote, why do citizens and city staff work for months on honing ordinances if they are not to be instituted and enforced? What kind of respect can our community or any local business here have for our ordinances if we allow big business to simply ignore them, unquote. For several years after the ordinance was supposed to be enforced in 2011, I sent letters to each of the officers in every company that rented space on the billboards to let them know they were out of compliance and illegal. It is now almost 9 years since the ordinance was to be enforced. With an in-house lawyer, I hope you will re-examine this lack of respect for our city ordinances and get rid of these offensive, unsightly, and ugly billboards. Our main concern should be about making this town more appealing to businesses and residents. I think this is a no-brainer. Question. Does this city government, mayor, mayor pro tem, and city council have the will and the courage to end this illegal pollution in our hometown? Thank you for consideration.
Thank you, Julie.
Questions?
No?
You must have been listening to some of our conversations recently, so I think that will be a topic of discussion.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. All right. Jane Van Kuren. Welcome, Jane.
Council President Rosner and city councilors and staff. My name is Jane Van Kuren. I live at 22550 Highland Drive, and I've been a resident of Sherwood for a while. Right now, I am on the Library Advisory Board, and I also work part-time for the Sherwood Center for the Arts. I'm a on-call recreation assistant. So soon you should receive one handout that's like a copy of a page from our website for the public library. And the other handout is one that's a reprint of the article that Crystal Garcia and Adrian Doman Calkins published this summer. So at our last advisory board, we talked about the importance of you receiving some information that could be really useful on the topic of diversity, equity, inclusion, and then you can add accessibility. So I want you to have these, and then I'm going to highlight some things. The article that our two librarians published came out in the summer of 2019, and this is absolutely significant. For them to be in this journal article, this journal is just really important. So if you're trying to understand this complicated topic, that's a place to go to see what we've been doing at our public library. It really builds a base, it lays down a foundation, and it's something that you can turn to. I think you've heard about the Library Bill of Rights that was adopted in 1939. And these days it gets supplemented with modern interpretations because we're evolving with time. I think you know that our work is never done on the topic of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And more importantly, it's the work of everyone. We want to set new goals as things are accomplished. I'm looking at the website and I want to highlight what we've been doing in collections. It's about the middle of the page. We budget money so that we have diverse authors and emerging authors. And then we want to hear people who write with their own voice. That's library talk, for meaning maybe the person really is telling you something from their own experience. Under programs and events, I think you probably know that since 2016, we've had a bilingual story time in the park. It was a 6-week series, and it's in English and Spanish. And I tell you what, it is really fun. It's a really special event. The other thing that we did is that we added one-on-one tech help available in Spanish. And sometimes that's all somebody needs, just a little bit of an help, and then they can be navigating on their own. And then I think it's significant that we added test proctoring services this last May, and this helps serves our non-traditional learners. This could be a person of any age that needs test proctoring. Maybe they've got to pass an insurance exam and they just need a place to take their official exam. On the other side, you'll see spaces. And you know, we're always talking about our library and the physical facility that we have, and then also our website. It's important for you to know that we added a Spanish language webpage portal. So you navigate to where we are in the library and you'll find it there. And we are the only department in the city of Sherwood that's done that. And that really opens doors. That makes things go very nicely, and we're very proud of that. Finally, I want you to know that we have staff at the library who speak French and Spanish, and library card applications are now available in Arabic, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Hindi, Japanese, Russian, and Somalia. And that is thanks to the mothership, the Washington County Library System. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your support.
Thank you, Jane. And you nailed it on the time there.
Hey,
And
Jane. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Jane, I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work on the library board. And for those of you that don't know Jane, it's just like everywhere I go in town where someone's needed to volunteer, Jane's there. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I just wanted to add a little bit to what Jane was saying. I'm a huge advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in the circle that I run in my business life, working with the disadvantaged, specifically homeless folks, we often hear how the library is the last true inclusive place for people to be. So thank you for serving on that committee and bringing this to our attention.
Thanks. All right. So the next item on our agenda is public hearings. We have 2 tonight. Sylvia?
The Sherwood City Council will hold public hearings this evening to hear testimony on Ordinance 2020-001, amending sections of the Sherwood Zoning and Community Development Code as it relates to the regulations of fences, and Ordinance 2020-002, amending Title V of the Sherwood Municipal Code regarding business licenses and regulations. This is the second hearing on both these items. The public hearing this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff will present a staff report. Questions, if any, by the City Council for staff. We will receive any written testimony. We will then open the public hearing for testimony, and the time will be limited to 4 minutes per person. Any interested person may present testimony. We will then close the public hearing. No other comments will be heard from the public. Final comments by staff, questions of staff, if any, by the council, followed by discussion by the council. As this is the second hearing before the City Council on these items, a decision may be made by the close of this hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a date certain, this is the only notice of that date you will receive. If you wish to speak, please fill out a testimony form and submit it to the city recorder. Council president will recognize people wishing to speak. Any questions should be addressed to the council president. When you come forward, please state your name and address as this hearing will be recorded.
All right, thank you, Sylvia. So we'll go ahead and open up the hearing for ordinance 2020-01, amending sections of the Sherwood Zoning and Community Development Code as it relates to the regulation of fences.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, counselors. So tonight before you, you have proposed amendments to the fence code. Oh, now it's up on screen. Great. I'm going to be fairly quick tonight because you've heard this at the last public hearing, but just for summary purposes, just a code comparison of the proposed amendments. To the front yard setback, there is no changes proposed for the location of fences. For corner side yard, street side, we are proposing to be a bit more flexible in our code standard. Either you can have a 42-inch fence, which can be placed at the property line, or you can have a 6-foot in height fence that may be placed no closer than 5 feet back from the property line. The rear yard and side yard locations, there's no change. It's a 6-foot fence anywhere up to the property line. And once again, there's no changes proposed for fences adjacent to public access ways or alleys. We did add a general condition about receiving approval from the city engineer of constructing a retaining wall and the public utility easement. And we added a condition that property owners need to locate utilities if placing a fence within the PE. And then for readability purposes and ease of code, we put a lot of the text in a table format. Hopefully that's more concise and easy for people to read. So at the last hearing on January 7th, there were 2 concerns raised. The first concern had to do with properties and areas without sidewalks abutting a public right-of-way. And we addressed this concern, and it is in your staff report this evening. We addressed this concern by looking at where we would measure the sidewalk from. So in this case, we would measure 1 foot back from the edge of the sidewalk that is furthest from the right-of-way, and that would be treated as the property line.
You're talking about the second one then, properties where sidewalks.
Oh, yes, the second one, sorry.
Okay.
Properties where sidewalks might be located on private property.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. And the other concern had to do with properties and areas with sidewalks abutting public right-of-way. And so we addressed this concern and how you would measure and the placement of fence. You would figure out the center line of the street, and then you would measure 26 feet back from that area, and that's where you could place the placement of the fence. And the reason why we chose 26 feet back is because that is half the distance of a local improved public right-of-way of a local street. So that is why we went ahead and proposed that language. And it meets the two
Just
the
to
two
be clear,
concerns.
according to the text language, I think this is what you meant. The 26 feet is then what's considered the property line, not where the fence may be placed necessarily. Then that's where you determine. Then you use that to use the chart to determine whether you can do it there or 1 or 5 feet back. Okay.
So with that, staff respectfully recommends the City Council conduct the second reading of this ordinance.
Great, thank you. Does
Do you have any
Council
questions?
have
I do.
any questions?
I have a question. So this 26 feet off the center of the street, do we know if we have any streets that when they were built weren't 52 feet wide? They were less than that, so now 26 feet is encroaching on what was formerly a property line, or do we know for sure that that's not an issue?
So it shouldn't be an issue because that area will be an unimproved public street. So if you find the center line of that unimproved right-of-way and measure 26 feet back, that's where all the improvements for that street are going to be located. You're going to have the street, this curb, the sidewalk, gutter.
Yeah, my question is, do we have any existing streets that are 50 feet wide and 26 feet goes a foot beyond,
So
or are we?
I think the distinction is whether or not it's a fully improved, meaning
Okay.
you've got the pavement, the sidewalk, the curb gutter. We're not as concerned about a situation where you might have a narrower, fully improved street
Okay.
because it's clear where the property line, we're not going to change where that property line is. The question from the last hearing was where we have an unimproved street and then someone wants to put a fence on the property line that might be within the area that we ultimately would want that road to be. And so the language that's proposed kind of solves that issue by ensuring that the fence is around where.
Leaves you room to have improvements in
Exactly.
the future.
And as far as the question of whether or not there's many situations, as I said at the last hearing, I think it's very rare, but the language was proposed to help ensure that if there is a situation, we have some protections in place.
All right.
There you go. I was wondering if Highland, I actually hate to even bring this up because I live on this street, but Highland Drive, I'm wondering if that is one of these situations.
Don't have sidewalks?
So, yeah, I'm not familiar with every road in Sherwood, but yeah, if there is not sidewalks, then, and someone wanted to do a fence along their front yard, then you would follow one of those situations.
Okay. I'm just curious out of curiosity.
But this is not moving someone's existing property line as platted with Washington County. This
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Yeah,
not superseding anything
It's
in
helping
any way.
define for fence purposes only.
Okay.
Where
the
we would
placement would
measure.
be.
Okay.
All right. I don't know. It might be an interesting case study.
Go out and measure 26 feet from the middle of your
I know.
I really want you to do that.
I think I probably will.
That'd be interesting. to
Where
find
does
out.
that end up? I know.
So how,
26 feet, right?
Yeah.
26 feet. So how specifically are you defining an unimproved road?
How are we defining an
How is that
unimproved road?
defined in the code or in the proposed code?
It's
It's just based on whether there's a sidewalk or not.
So if there's a
So
sidewalk,
if there's no sidewalk, you use the 26 feet from center line. If
Okay.
there is a sidewalk, you use the sidewalk as the reference point.
Any other questions
No.
from council? Nope. All right, thank you. Do we have anyone that would like to comment on the proposed ordinance? Hearing none, we'll move on. Discussion on the council?
I mean, we talked about it quite a bit at length at the first hearing, and there's no new testimony that have come in since then. I'll just reiterate what I said briefly. I think this is an improved code from the current standard. It's actually more permissive, more beneficial to fence builders and homeowners than anybody who wants to build a fence and is allowed to. So I think it's, from that standpoint, it's no reason I would object to this, and I think it's some needed improvements and more clarity, and staff did a good job. So.
Any other comments?
No, I would just say, thanks to the citizens who brought this forward. It's obviously it was a little bit of a gray area in our code. There's some people had some questions about how to interpret it. I think we've done a good job interpreting it and getting it out there. And I also appreciate, I mentioned last meeting as well, I appreciate the effort to speak with our local fence builders as well and just make sure that they're key on that. Because I think that's where most of this is going to be caught or, minimizing the impact to our citizens. So I just want to make sure that we follow through with that once we get this approved.
I just wanted to clarify what we also mentioned last time as council, we just set the policy and then the enforcement of that policy will be up to staff. So if there's any questions on enforcement, then that would go to staff.
Great. And finally, I think we talked a couple weeks ago about, at least it was brought up during the meeting, about maybe some sort of diagram or visual aid which helps people identify what kind of a lot they've got, because that was sort of at the crux of this initial misunderstanding. Someone thought they had one kind of lot, they had another kind of lot. And because of that, are we adding something to the website? Have we done a PDF that can be downloaded or?
Yes,
Okay.
that is, we undertook that work. Once this code language is adopted, we will put that up online.
Can you let us know so
Yes.
council can check it out?
That would be great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I just want to echo my thanks to staff and everyone that worked so hard on this. Kind of going back in time, I remember when this issue first came up because there was I think it's a different lot from what you're thinking about, but it was a case where they put a fence in and it was low and it didn't look bad, but it was technically not allowed. So staff worked with the community and us and homeowners and came up with what I think is a nice compromise. And as I understand it, if your fence was approved under the current code, it would be approved under this code, correct? Okay, great. All right. No more comments or questions? Do I have a motion to recaption and adopt?
Yep, I move that we recaption and adopt ordinance 2020-001, amending sections of the Sherwood Zoning and Community Development Code as it relates to the regulation of fences.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sylvia?
Ordinance 2020-001, amending sections of the Sherwood Zoning and Community Development Code as it relates to the regulations of fences. Counselor Scott?
Aye.
Counselor Griffin?
Aye.
Counselor Browse?
Aye.
Counselor Young?
Aye.
Counselor Garland?
Aye.
Council President Rosner?
Aye.
Thank you.
And the ordinance is adopted. Great, so we will move on to our second public hearing tonight, which is ordinance 2020-002, amending Title V of the Sherwood Municipal Code regarding business licenses and regulations.
And I'm over here this evening.
Thank you, Julia.
So this is also the second reading on this ordinance. I'm going to very briefly review what the proposed changes are. We're updating this entire section. A lot of sections we're actually proposing to delete in their entirety because they are very out of date and not necessary anymore. The main purpose of this is to update the business license section to make it more clear, better define things, as well as the time frame for when the license is going to be in effect. One of the purposes is to use the term business license fee rather than privilege tax. It was pointed out to me recently that we still have the reference to privilege tax under the purpose statement. So if council wanted to make a motion to amend the proposed changes to change privilege tax, there's two instances under the purpose statement, privilege tax to business license, that would be advisable, but not necessary. It doesn't really change the substance of what we're doing, but if we're trying to be consistent and remove that would be recommended. Other than that, we moved business recycling out of the business license section into its own chapter for clarity. We're proposing to eliminate the sections on amusement games, bingo, lotto, and raffle games, as well as taxi cabs. We're proposing to delete the bulk of the liquor establishment code, but retain the code for processing permits. And then we're leaving the recreational marijuana businesses unchanged. That is a summary of what is being proposed, and I'm happy to answer any questions if council has any.
Questions?
Yeah. We had a work session on this as well as a previous meeting, so.
Is there any desire to amend this?
Yes.
Yes, I make a motion that we amend, edit ordinance 2020-002, specifically 5.04.020 purpose, and replace privilege tax with business license. Business license. Two places, A and B.
Actually, I believe it should just be business license. I actually was thinking about that, but the way the wording is, for example, the purpose, the business license fee program, that doesn't make any sense. The business license program established herein is purely for the provision of tax revenue, and then the second one would say the business license authorized by this chapter is independent of and separate from other taxes. So I think just saying business license would flow better verbally.
I think it makes sense to make it consistent throughout.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Josh, excuse me, should the public hearing be open before a motion is made on the ordinance?
I don't think that that matters terribly as long as we give people an opportunity to have the public comment. So just make sure you do that before you make a motion on adoption.
Yes. So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes. Any other questions or comments for staff? Great. Would anyone out in the public land out there like to comment on this ordinance? All right. We will move on then. Great. So it sounds like we don't have a lot of discussion on this. Is there anything else we need to discuss? So let's go ahead and make a motion.
I move that we recapture and adopt ordinance 2020-002, amending Title V of the Sherwood Municipal Code regarding business licenses and regulations.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Sylvia.
Ordinance 2020-002, amending Title V of the Sherwood Municipal Code regarding business licenses and regulations. Counselor Scott?
Aye.
Counselor Griffin?
Aye.
Counselor Browse?
Aye.
Counselor Young?
Aye.
Counselor Garland?
Aye.
Council President Rosner?
Aye.
And Mayor Mays is absent. Thank you.
All right, and the ordinance passes. Great. We're going to move right along here. We're moving at record time here, I think. City manager report.
Council President, excuse me, and Council, I'll be brief. I have actually just one item, just a reminder. Citizens University is open for folks to apply. February 7th is the deadline. We did get a few applications after we did some marketing of the program, but it's been a little quiet, and I need a few more to make this. We try to get to 10 people as a minimum number to participate, and we're not quite there yet. So if you know folks that would like to participate in this program, please spread the word. We'll do another posting on social media to try to get a few more applications in. But we'd really
Is it
like
still
to do it.
Thursdays?
It's still Thursdays, 7 weeks in March and April. We skip spring break week. So
Did Representative Neron sign up?
she wanted to,
Question.
actually,
She
Saturday
mentioned
night.
that.
She mentioned,
Right
but
during the middle
she's
of
kind of
short
busy.
session, though.
Yeah, she's kind of busy.
So maybe someday. So that's all I had.
So for anyone out there in TV land, I've done it. I think most of us on council have done it, and it is a wonderful program. You learn a lot about how the city operates, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it, especially if you're interested in serving on a board or commission at some point.
A lot of people on Facebook who could probably learn a few things.
All right. So we'll move on to council announcements. Russell, I understand that you have
I'll go first.
quite a bit to talk about tonight.
I have no comments.
Okay.
No comments.
I will be brief. Had a school board meeting last week. It went well. They adopted a new logo for the school district. It's go check it out. It's
Very cool.
It is kind of cool. It's a little kind of Robin Hood hat stylized. And they also had the boundary committee present their findings, and I was really impressed at how thoughtful the boundary committee was and how they approached their job and listened to public feedback and were really willing to tune their approach for the new boundaries with once the new high school was in place and we combined the middle school. So that they did a good job, and a lot of people I've talked to are happy with it, so that's a great outcome for them. Last week on Monday and Tuesday, I was down in Salem both days. On Monday, Councilor Young and I were down there with Representative Neron, and we testified in a work session to one of the committees in support of the pedestrian bridge that we're trying to get at 99 West and Sunset. It was an interesting session. We're going to continue to work on that. This is a work session prior to the actual short session that's going to start, and we have a consulting firm, which is a fancy way of saying lobbyists, that are working with us on that project. And once the session gets going, I'm sure we're going to be back down there talking to them and meeting with the individual senators and representatives so we can get that pushed through. Cross our fingers. There's a lot of people down there asking for money, and the well is not deep. So we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. On Tuesday, I was down there with the mayors of King City, Tualatin, and Tigard. We spent the whole day down there from 9 till about 4 or 5 o'clock. Met with 15 representatives and senators, including the Speaker's office, and testified in front of the Joint Ways and Means Committee. No, I'm sorry, the JCT, Joint Transportation Committee. And that what we were down there talking about there is we're really looking for $1 million to start the process of studying the 99 West corridor from Tigard all the way through Sherwood. It's a section of the 99 West that has just not been addressed in a really, really long time. If you think about it, it's been a 2-lane highway going back to, gosh, I can't remember when it wasn't a 2-way, but we moved here in the 70s, so it's been a long time. And it's time for that to be addressed, and for the state and these cities to work on coming up with a plan for what we need to do with deal with congestion, safety of our pedestrians, connecting cities across that highway. So we had that actually went really well, and we had a lot of positive feedback from senators and representatives. It really helps when we go up there as a united voice. If it's just Sherwood or just King City trying to get something like that, it's really difficult. But when you have 4 cities spending the whole day down there talking to them, that means something to them. So I'm cautiously optimistic we're going to get some traction on that particular project. And with that, I will pass the baton over to Renee.
All right, I'll be brief. I did attend the Senior Advisory Board's meeting. I couldn't think of the word there for a second. The first week of January, I think it was. So they now have a new president and a new vice president, and they are diligently talking about how to serve the seniors in our community more effectively. They requesting maps of senior housing, so that's a topic they've already identified potentially. Surveying seniors, doing some door-to-door canvassing, and to really find out what the desires of the community are to help our seniors out more effectively. Also attended the library advisory meeting, and the newsletter is out. I'm always in awe, again, of what the library does. There's tons of statistics out there, but the fact that they have 59,000 visits in a quarter, which is 600 and some a day, and the amount of things that are going in and out of the facility, the estimated value over $4 million as a fiscal year of the value of our Washington Cooperative is just amazing. So good things are going on in the library. And then I did attend the Washington County Commissioners meeting this past week, and they are talking about the cereal levy that's coming up in May, that and the Washington County Library, that levy as well. So there's lots of things coming out in May that we as a community need to be aware of. Other than that, that's all I've got.
I'll also be brief. Last week attended the Cultural Arts Commission meeting. They are this close to having their master plan. Yeah, community arts master plan. They'll be presenting that here to us hopefully shortly, and hope you guys are anticipating that, because I am looking forward to them presenting that. It's going to be really fun. They've got great plans. They're art people, so they've got some dreams, but they're realistic, and I think that they will really improve Sherwood. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from that. That's all I got.
John, what's your wife doing this weekend?
Oh, well, I guess I could mention that. There's 3 shows of The Producers this weekend. They opened last weekend to rave reviews, and Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday matinee. It's at the Arts Center. Somebody help me that way. Tickets still available on the website. Get them quick, though. I went on Sunday, and there were quite a few people in the crowd, so I would suggest buying some tickets if you'd like.
Got my tickets for Saturday night.
Me too.
Planning Commission updates. Planning Commission had 2 public hearings last Tuesday. One was a variance for the high school sign on the side of the building, so that would pass. Second variance also passed was a request from a local business here in Old Town who wants to grow and expand their business, so there was a variance needed on their weird old lot configuration, so passed again. This coming Tuesday, they have a work session. Planning Commission has a work session. Comprehensive plan updates are on it, as well as potential for allowing hotels in light industrial zones. So that will be on Tuesday's agenda. It is a work session, so there's no public hearing, but it is open to the public if anybody wants to attend. Lastly, a shout out to my daughters, Allison and Lindsay, who both took home first place this weekend at our cheer competition up in Portland. And we'll do it again in Palm Springs in 10 days, so a little warmer, hopefully.
All right. Anything else? All right. We are adjourned.